some science. I recently found this site called higgshunters.org, where you actually can be part of cutting edge particle science here at CERN in Switzerland. You may know they have this specifying particle collisions. This is our first collision image, and that's actually quite an interesting or quite a busy one. A lot of things going on here. I wouldn't say that I understand anything I see here. Well, that's not entirely true, but I can't really tell you a lot about this. Obviously, there are detectors around the center, here or here or here and here. I don't know. And here in the center is where the collision happens, and all those lines are charged particles, or are the trajectories of charged particles from the collision. So they collide particles. I suppose they collide protons. I have no idea. And they break apart into smaller particles, and those particles are what we see here, flying away from the center. And as you can see, some lines are really straight and long, reach to the outside, and some lines are a little more curved, like this here, or this one. And I read somewhere that that's how they can see the difference in the energy level of those particles. High energy particles have a lot of kinetic energy, I guess, and are therefore go straight to the outside, and low energy particles are, their trajectories are bent on their way away from the center. So I suppose that what happens here. Now our task is to find off-center vertices, and that's interesting because these off-center vertices are kind of invisible particles flying away from the center, and invisible meaning they have no charge, so they can't be detected, but as they fly away they are unstable and they break apart into charged particles, which then can be detected, and that's exactly what they are looking for, and that's exactly what they want us to look for. And we have actually a very interesting one here. You can see here's a point where many lines start to part, and before that point is nothing. So this means after the collision a particle was created, a particle without charge, and it flew away in this direction. And those are computer errors, you can say. It's the computers or the computer trying to interpolate the trajectory of the particle, and it fails, obviously, because it's just impossible. And over here we've got another one, and I think this one also doesn't quite go back to the center, so this might be a point over here where actually something else broke apart and created two new particles. So let's just mark it. But as I said, they aren't really interested in things that split into two parts. But well, let's mark it anyway. Okay. Anything else going on here? Here we've got something strange. This point here seems to split into two lines, which one of them is obviously another wrong interpolation from the computer, so this might be another one, another uncharged particle parting into two charged particles. And I can't see anything else, so let's just move on. Now we would have the possibility to talk about this image, and actually I've done this for several images because sometimes they're quite weird or just interesting, and you actually might want to ask some scientists if they could explain to you what you are seeing, or if they could help you. You can tell them, what you think you see, and they can help you. They can tell you if you're correct or not. So you might you might actually improve in spotting interesting things over time. What helps them, of course, because we don't want to produce too much false positives, I suppose. Well, but let's not discuss this image with scientists now and just move on to the next one. Okay, as you can see, this one is less busy than the last one, and there's one interesting thing to spot right away, and that's this crossing of lines over here, because once again, impossible trajectories back to what's clearly not the center. So one particle must have come from the center and decayed over here, or split over here into of those lines just can't be right because they don't start at the center, so this part shouldn't be here, I guess, and this part shouldn't either be here. So here two particles are created, well, yeah, let's stick with created, but they don't live really long, or I don't know, but those lines seem very short. And all this happens quite a bit away from the center, so you see a non-charged particle must have flown all the way to this point and then split it into two particles, which I don't know what they do when they disappear, if they annihilate. No, I don't think so. If they decay into something else, I don't know. Or if they just get absorbed by the detectors. Well, that one probably makes the most sense, but I don't want to tell you something that's not correct, so I just can tell you what happens with them here or here. But anyway, we've got two branches, so let's mark this and move on. Okay. Very interesting. Look at this line. What is it doing? It doesn't come from the center, and well, it doesn't look like it would be part of a split. It doesn't look like it would be a branch. Let's just ignore it for the moment, but here anyway, this seems to be quite obvious. Two branches, this here and this here, coming from the center, split, two branches. This one is very difficult to tell. It might have been a particle coming from here and splitting into two branches over here, but this would mean that this line didn't exist on this side, which would render this vertex invalid. So I have no idea which one of them is right, but only one of them can be right. But that's not for us to figure out, so let's mark them both. Here's a line coming straight from the center, so I don't suppose that this here is a valid vertex because this trajectory seems right. Okay, I see down here we've got something really interesting going on. We've got a vertex branching into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Actually, I think they are all rooting at the center, but I can't be sure. Well, let's just mark it, or shouldn't we? Let's mark it, and let's say well, how many of those lines are coming from the center and how many are coming from here? Very hard to tell. I'm going for 4 and let the scientists analyze this further. Okay, that's the first interesting slice view we've got, but nothing going on. We've got this line which is sort of out of line, if you will, but it's a single line, so we've got to ignore it. Question is, what's this one doing here? But I think we can also ignore this one, so 1. Okay, now we see the computer has already marked something over here. I don't know if he really is right, because both of those lines seem to be starting at the center and probably just cross over each other here. So I'm not gonna mark this, and I'm not gonna mark anything on this image, because this line can be ignored. All those seem to be starting once again, not all of them can be true, because if that's vertex, then this isn't, and if that's vertex, then this isn't either, and this one might be, but if that's vertex, then this isn't, and this isn't, but this might be. Oh. Well, let's move on. Okay, see over here, the computer actually marked this as a vertex, and well, I'm asking myself why it does this. So anyway, here, fairly clear, and probably here, probably 3 branches. Everything coming from the center, right? I suppose so. This one. And what about those lines over here? I don't think that's anything, because this seems to be a single line, while those 2 are coming from the center. Oh, but what have we got over here? This has to be something. I'm marking 4 branches. 4 is good. Nothing really out of the ordinary. Next. Okay, everything from the center again. Now the question is, does this point over here still count as the center? I'm going with that assumption. This here seems to be a single line, and everything else coming straight from the center. Well, single line, center. Nothing interesting. Okay. This seems to be interesting. Those here are clearly not at the center, and this over here, for me it looks like center, but the question is, do we have something in this area here? as an uninteresting single line. Same here with the green line. So I don't think there's anything at all in this picture. Next. Clearly two single lines and everything else pointing to the center and a third single line, but nothing else. Everything coming from the center except for this line, but it seems to be a single line. Okay, interesting. Single line. It seems I only find. Oh no, this one here might be something. Because those lines both aren't pointing to the center. And same over here. Okay. At least we found something, but nothing really interesting. Okay, what about this crossing? Or okay, this one clearly is a vertex, but again, the problem with the angle in this crossing, if a particle is coming somewhere from the center, you would expect another angle when it splits up, when it's branching. So I don't think this is anything. I see two single lines and everything else coming straight from the center. One single line, two single lines, center, center. Center, center, center. Single line, center, 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 center. Center, center, center. Okay, this one is nice. That's what we're looking for. Branching into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 branches, and clearly away from the center. No false trajectories. Actually, this one might belong to those 5. Okay, so we'll go with 5 to 10. Nope, I didn't mean to delete it. So you can see, notice the different colors. sees. I don't know. I think the computer just sees some ghosts. These might be random or accidental crossings or whatever, because the lines otherwise are coming straight from the collision center, so no splitting up here or here. And nothing here. And what have we got here? Here we might have something. We've got one line coming from the center, and we've got two lines. Seem to be coming from here, which wouldn't make any sense. But what do they center, center, and single lines. Okay, are those coming from the center or are those wrong interpolations? Oh, clearly what we are looking for. What is this? The computer found something at the center. This just can't be true. He has gone. It has got to know that everything is supposed to come from the center, so it really, there's no need to mark anything there. Oh my god, I can't believe it. Oh, this is clearly something, and probably this are just two lines. Very hard to tell. Is this a line over here? Nothing.